For today's mobility video, we are going to start by foam rolling our T-spine. So you want to grab your foam roller and have a seat on the floor, and then you're going to lay back with the middle part of your back on the roller. You'll lift your hips and you'll take your time and just roll up and down along your spine. If you put your hands behind your head and you tuck your elbows in, you can really separate the scapula a little bit better and get a little bit deeper into the muscles that sort of pull those shoulder blades around. And you want to make sure that you're breathing and that you're focusing on the areas that might be a little bit more tight. We're also going to be rolling out the lats. So you're going to end up turning to one side and dropping your elbow so that you can get almost like you're going to be rolling into your armpit. So take your time and get into this position. If it's too much to keep the hips off the floor, you can always rest the hips on the floor and just kind of rock over that foam roller. Chances are it's going to be pretty tender, and you want to really take your time and just work through that soft tissue. We're going to switch sides, so dropping one elbow down toward the floor, keeping the hands on the head. And you can either lift your hips and add a little extra pressure, or drop your hips to the floor and just rock side to side. Super important to get these muscles. All right, you could put the foam roller away, and we're going to work on some floor slides. So this is more breathing to go into your shoulders and your rib cage. So lying on your back with your legs bent, kind of rolling your pelvis up just a little bit, just a gesture, and keeping your rib cage pulled down toward your pelvis. Nice big inhale with your arms out like a W or goalie pose. And you're going to exhale nice and slow and reach your arms up overhead. So exhale as you reach, inhale as you bring the elbows down, keeping everything as glued to the floor as possible. Taking your time. You can see my elbows kind of coming up a little bit more, which means I need to do this more often. Making sure that your back is engaged with the floor and you're breathing into your entire rib cage and not into your chest. You want to try to relax the tension in the chest. We're going to do some knee hugs here, which I think is really an overlooked movement. So one leg is extended down on the floor and the other knee is pulled in nice and tight toward your chest. And you're going to alternate, taking your time. So just as much as you pull one knee in, you are extending that other heel out as far as you can. So you're essentially getting your knee and your other foot as far away from each other as possible. Making sure to keep your back pressed into the floor and that you're breathing with this. So nice big exhale as you pull the knee in, inhale as you're switching, exhale as you pull. Spending whatever amount of time you need on each side, making sure to really keep that other leg extended. Pull both knees in, and we're going to work on some leg lowers. So legs will be up toward the ceiling. Your pelvis and your rib cage are kind of angled toward each other like they were with the floor slides. You're going to take your time and lower one leg down to the floor while the other one stays up toward the ceiling. Only lower that leg down as much as you can. So if you start to feel your form shifting, you're going too far. So everything is square. The back is pressed into the floor. The legs are relatively straight with just a slight bend in the knee. If you can't get them completely vertical, just hold it at whatever angle you can and then drop it to whatever angle you can, making sure to keep that leg as long as possible. And take your time here. You want to inhale and exhale with control, nice and slow, big lower. Pulling both knees in. We're going to work on a 3-point stretch here. So pulling one leg up for a hamstring stretch, and then across the body, back into the chest, and then out nice and wide, keeping the other leg down along the floor. Okay, making sure that that stays in contact with the floor the whole time. If it's really difficult for you to grab your leg here, you can use a strap. And you can take whatever time you need at each point of the stretch. So we're just reaching our stretch and releasing. Going to the center, reach the stretch and release. Across the body, center, and then wide. And just taking your time, not forcing anything. Pulling both knees in and then switching sides. So extending the leg up, pull it in toward the chest, across the body, in toward the chest, and then out wide. Again, you can use a strap for this, or you can grab behind the knee instead of the calf. Or if you have the flexibility and your other leg is nice and firm on the floor, extended on the floor, you can grab your foot. But again, you want to keep your entire back in full contact with that floor the whole time. And making sure to breathe. Range of motion here is going to vary for everybody. Nice big knee tuck, and we're going to come on up. We're going onto our hands and knees, and then you're going to swing one knee up forward. So you have one knee down, one knee up, and the hands are below the shoulders, right beside that front foot. And we're going to work on some T-spine rotations here. So keeping the hips square. Take a big inhale with the hands down, exhale and turning one arm up toward the ceiling. Inhale, hands down, exhale, switching sides. Trying to keep the hips square the whole time. The tricky part here is that you might want to resist the stretch in the hip of the leg that's in front. And if you settle into that hip a little bit more, you'll find that your balance is a little bit better, especially on this external rotation. The base is a little bit more narrow, so you'll find that your balance is a little more vulnerable. Nice big exhale with a reach. Now we're going to do a quad stretch, so you're just going to move that back knee back a little further, and then you're going to turn over that front leg and grab that back foot so that you're stretching your quad. So you're driving that back hip down toward the floor a little bit, just nice and gentle. You're going to release the stretch, and then you're going to drive into it just a little bit with a nice big exhale. Inhale as you release the stretch, exhale as you dive into it. Trying to keep that front foot facing forward, so you don't want to twist too much through that hip and that foot. That's what's dictating the resistance that you're getting from the quad that you're currently stretching. You can move your hand wherever you need to. Again, you can use a strap here if it's difficult to reach your foot. I have one side that's much, much tighter than the other. So now we're going to go into a hamstring rock. So with one knee up and one knee down, we're going to straighten that front leg, and then we'll go back to the box position and extend that back leg. So we're going to reach back with our hips and then reach up with our hips. So straighten the front, and now straighten both. Nice, straightening the front and straighten both. The hands are not moving here, so they're staying planted right beside the foot, right under the shoulders. Taking your time, making sure to inhale and exhale with each move. Shifting back, shifting up, shifting back, and switching. So bringing that other knee up, keeping the hands down on the floor, under the shoulders. Both knees are at 90-degree angle. And you're inhaling at the bottom and exhaling as you're turning your arm up toward the ceiling. Reaching for the ceiling. Inhale as the hands come down. Exhale as you turn. Inhale as you come down. Exhale as you turn. Taking your time here. Allowing yourself to sink down into your hips. Now moving that back knee back a little bit further, reaching over that front knee and grabbing your foot behind you. You can grab it on the outside or the inside. You're going to release the stretch and then drive into it. Inhale as you release the stretch. Exhale as you drive into it. And the quad is 4 different muscles, so you can't really stretch the whole quad in just one angle. So if you need to move your hips around a little bit to feel the other areas of the quad that might be a little bit tight, feel free to do that. Just with every movement that you do, have it be with control and with breath. Nice and easy into the quad. You're going to release and drive in. And now we're going to do our hamstring rock. So we're going to straighten that front leg and then straighten both legs. Knee comes down, straighten the front leg, and straighten both legs. Good. Hips up, bringing that back knee down, straighten the front leg, lifting that back knee up, and straightening both legs. Making sure to breathe here. Nice big inhales and exhales. Nice and easy. Our next stretch is going to be a side body stretch, which can be a little bit confusing to get into. Just take your time here on this hamstring rock. All right, so the side body stretch, you'll keep that front knee forward, but you're going to turn toward that side. So your foot is going to turn so that now it's pointing in the direction that you're looking, and your other leg is extended out nice and straight. You're going to prop yourself up on your arm, and if this is too much for that side body, then you can come down onto your elbow. And you'll see me rocking here a little bit. Again, that is just to get all the angles of the hip and the psoas. So feel free to rock. And it's not just about driving the knee forward, but it's about moving through the hip. This is a very big stretch, and you might have one side that is much, much tighter than the other. Just take your time, nice big deep breaths. Keep that bottom leg extended way out. I have my foot flexed most of the time just to protect the knees. We're going to switch sides. So bringing the other leg up, turning the toes out, straightening that bottom leg as you turn. And then you will rock through that hip a little bit. So the knee drives forward, but the whole body kind of rocks a little. Making sure that other leg is extended way out, pressing out with the heel. Keeping the shoulder nice and strong. Try not to keep too much tension in your shoulder. Always sort of pushing that floor away. And breathe. Nice and slow with the rocking. We're going to come on up to our feet. We're actually going to do a single leg balance. So you want to think about grabbing the floor with one foot, softening that knee, and squeezing that glute. The other leg is going to come up so that the knee is up past your hip line if you can. And you're going to keep that bent leg foot flexed. And now if you want to add movement, you can add some circles. Typically speaking, an internal or an external rotation will feel differently, so you could choose whichever one feels best, or you can just hold with that one knee tucked way up. That's a big challenge all on its own. Making sure that the floor leg is nice and strong, it's not locked out. You want to make sure you're squeezing the glute of that floor leg. Core is tight, and you have a focal point. Knee is up nice and high. And now we'll switch. So you can kick it out a little bit. Grabbing the floor with your foot, squeezing that glute like there's no tomorrow, bringing that other knee up nice and high, making sure that you have your balance, you own your space, and you can add some circles if you want, keeping the feet flexed. Good. Nice circles, nice control. Keeping that glute nice and strong. Core super active here. When in doubt, squeeze your glutes. If you feel like you're losing your balance with anything or you can't nail a move, it's probably because the glutes are being forgotten. So when in doubt, squeeze your glutes. All right, we're going to go to our flex extend, which you're probably familiar with from our warm-ups. You're going to lunge back, and then you're going to extend the leg. So here I want you to hyper focus on this hinge coming up again and really squeezing the glute. So when you lunge back, everything comes down to the floor, and then you extend your hips up toward the ceiling. So down, up, and then everything comes up to standing, and switch. Up, everything comes up to standing. So when you're coming up to standing, think of it as a hip hinge and really squeeze that glute. So it's the front leg glute, squeeze, and then switch. Down, up, squeeze, and switch. Down, up, squeeze, switch. In this video, I'm doing this for 45 seconds, but I recommend doing this for a minute and a half if you can. It's such a great exercise. It's great to do before running as well. And now we're going to do a 3-part. So we're doing a hamstring, a quad, and a figure 4. And we're going to hold each stretch only for a couple of seconds at each point. And we're going to switch legs. So reaching forward toward that foot, pulling that foot back for that quad stretch, and then kicking it around to a figure 4. So the foot goes on the knee and you're going to sit back. So when you reach that leg forward, send the hips back, nice big reach. And when you reach for the quad, make sure you pull the knees together and you're standing up nice and tall. And then you're going to swing it around to the figure 4, keeping that foot flex, sending the hips back. You don't need to come down very low. You want to think about pulling the tailbone back and gesturing for that stretch versus going in for full movement. Sending the tailbone back, nice tug on that hip, reaching forward on the other leg, swinging that foot back, tucking those knees together, pulling that foot towards your bum, and then swinging it around for your figure 4. Nice controlled movement. Go as slow as you need to here. Big reach, kick it back, and then figure 4. This is my stretch after I spin. I do a couple rotations through this. Seems to do the trick. And that's it.